Hello there, everybody. I hope you've all had a wonderful work week. And for those of you in the U.S., well, I hope next week brings you love, family, joy, laughter, and just a wonderful Thanksgiving. I certainly have a ton of gratitude for all of you. And if you're anything like me, well, in the last few weeks, you've seen an avalanche of people who are headed out the door of X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and moving on over, or moving on up, as they might say, to alternative social media platforms, Threads and Blue Sky. In the days following the election, according to sources at SimilarWeb, X drew more than 115,000 deactivations in one day. That's the most since mercurial Elon Musk has taken over the site. On the other hand, Threads and Blue Sky, well, they've seen astronomical rises in people signing up. Blue Sky has said that its user base is up to over 15 million people. And Adam Mosseri of Meta said that Threads now has surpassed 275 million monthly active users. That puts it at current estimates at somewhere between 60 to 65% of the activity on Twitter/X, and that is only projected to become bigger and bigger and bigger as we get into 2025. So what is all this sort of shifting of the waters or the tide? What does this mean for marketing? Is Blue Sky the next Twitter? Is Threads going to introduce the idea of advertising, as some has projected as early as next year? Are hashtags really going away? Should you actually put your brand on Blue Sky and put up a brand page on Threads? Yeah, let's talk about it. Why don't you sign up and follow me from hashtags to hot takes, new platforms, well, they're swiping into the spotlight. This is a few minutes of what's new in marketing that might help you lead your business's strategy. Let's roll. Hello, everybody. Robert Rose here with What's New in Marketing. It is about what's new in marketing, but most importantly, it's something important in marketing that we think may help you become a better leader. And if we can help you or your team with content marketing services, and that includes things like training, consultation, ongoing implementation of your content marketing program, get on over to Content Marketing Institute, fill out that form, let us know, let's schedule a Zoom call and talk about your situation. So call it the great flight from birds to butterflies, if you will, but there's a growing wave of celebrities, influencers, and major organizations that are leaving X, formerly Twitter, for the rising social media platform Blue Sky. Actors, directors, musicians, journalists, now even brands, agencies, and marketing strategies are increasingly turning their backs on X, citing concerns over hate speech, harassment, bots, controversial artificial intelligence policies, all of it under its owner, Elon Musk. Just this last week, the Guardian Media Group, which includes the Guardian newspaper, well, it joined the exodus, labeling X a toxic media platform. The Berlin Film Festival followed suit, announcing its departure earlier this month, and they joined NPR, which left X in April of 23, and the brands of 3M, United Health Group, and Best Buy, which are still there in their namespace, but haven't zeeted, or is it tweeted, or is it exceeded? I never know. Anyway, they haven't posted. Their namespace is still there. Their accounts are still there, but they haven't posted in the case of 3M and Best Buy in more than 2 years. And these are not brands that have just quit or pulled their advertising on X, which include, of course, Apple and IBM and Disney. These are companies that have just kind of full-on quiet quitted the whole platform together. In the void left by X, the new independent network Blue Sky is soaring. The upstart platform has seen explosive growth in recent weeks, with over 1 million new users joining in a single day, and a total user base now surpassing 15 million. With its app topping download charts on both Apple's App Store and Google Play, Blue Sky is quickly becoming a refuge to those that may be seeking an alternative to X or even other social media platforms. Meta's answer to X, Threads, of course, has been growing pretty strong itself. It had a huge surge of initial growth, making it one of the, if not the fastest growing social media network in history, and recently, over the last few weeks, having another surge of new account growth in just, well, the last couple of days even. So what about marketing? I've talked about how social media content and marketing have really also had a resurgence in the last few years, especially with things like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram Reels, basically video content driving a lot of content and media consumption on those platforms. I've talked about how social media is a lot less social these days and a lot more media these days. So, are we in for a resurgence in organic content marketing and branding on these new microblogging, text-focused platforms like we had on Twitter back in the day? Well, I think the answer to that Well, no, I don't. I don't think we are in for a resurgence of that. And let me explain myself. So back in September, research firm Kantar polled 18,000 consumers and 1,000 senior marketers globally and found that a net 26% of marketers plan to cut back spending on X in 2025. So you might say, well, doesn't that mean that 74% of marketers don't plan to cut back spending? Yeah, it does, until you realize that these are only the marketers that are left in the room, those that are still spending with X. So a 26% decrease, in other words, the marketers who are already spending with X now are going to start cutting back. And the rest of us, well, we don't actually plan to start. But I don't think this is all about Twitter. I mean, a lot of it is, certainly, and we'll see what happens if and when Meta introduces ad spending on Threads. But I actually think that there's really an interesting market trend that could be going on here broader than just paid media. In other words, paid media on microblogging may just kind of run its course. Now, Blue Sky has stated that ads are not in the near future for the platform, and Threads has said that it's actually going to introduce advertising, and we'll see if paid media actually starts to work on things like Threads and or if Blue Sky starts to offer it. I do believe that the days of paid media on those microblogging services might be sort of declining. But I also believe that the days of brands setting up organic shop on these blogging programs and trying to create that constant stream of great content that's engaging or entertaining or education, building a large audience for that organic traction, I think those days are gone too. Now, that's not to say that brands shouldn't avoid these platforms or that they shouldn't set up customer service channels or get their namespace or at least set up an account so that they have a presence. I mean, one of the most interesting things about Blue Sky, for example, is that you can have your domain be your social media handle. And I also suspect that there will be opportunities for these channels for influencers, internal or external, who can help organic amplification of brand voices. But you'll remember, for microblogging in its heyday, the goal for brands was to build a channel, a destination, if you will, of news or entertainment of some kind, harness your brand's voice, and it attracted engagement and sharing and subscription on these microblogging services. And these channels evolved over time to be exactly that. They were the news feed for our brand. They were the news feed for celebrities and journalists and others that were reporting on the news. And I think, for people anyway, that's where microblogging is likely to stay. So yes, the big news will be people, mostly people with a little bit or a lot of bit of brand, flocking to these microblogging services to utilize the ability to communicate to fans directly. But I can't really see a strong argument for brands to put that same level of effort into the idea. Instead, that effort might be better collected in finding the who in your brand will be representative of those marketing efforts. Perhaps it's your CEO, your CMO, your internal influencers, even all the salespeople, who those people are that will be speaking through the voice of your brand. One of the trends, for example, that we're seeing on LinkedIn is that the brand channel is simply there to amplify the human voices on the platform, just reposting what the individuals are posting. This seems to be the organic social media for brands, especially for microblogging, strategy of the future. It may be, and yes, I understand that it's a big maybe, that microblogging may go back to its roots, just a way for people to share and connect with one another, quick ways to share their current status. Organic social media marketing itself, well, it's a focus on long-term these days, the valuable, perhaps really focused mostly on video platforms like TikTok, Reels, and YouTube, and others where the focus is less connection, less collaboration, and much more on content consumption. And in other words, true media to an audience, one way, if you will. It'll be an interesting space to follow, if you will, for sure. And that's a few minutes of what's new in marketing. And you can find me on Blue Sky at robertrose.me and Threads at robertrose. And if we can help you think about some of these issues, reach out, won't you? We can help. In the meantime, remember it's your story to tell. Take the time to connect, and then make sure you tell it well. I'll see you.